I want that. I want to look back on my music and say it sounds terrible. I don't think I ever anticipated getting this far. But what happens when I now have a song that gets signed to a record label, now it puts this crazy goal in front of me. What is life if you're not like constantly wanting to develop and just get better at something?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Philwong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day, becoming the highest version of ourselves. Today's guest is Pete Summers. He's a podcast producer by day and a DJ and music producer by night. Peter will have you grooving, headbang, all around having a great time when he's mixing his music on his decks. Growing up in Western Mass, Peter loved hanging out with his hometown homies and creating lifelong memories. But now, he wants to make sure you create memories through his music. So, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Pete Summers. What's up, man?
Not much. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. It's kind of crazy because the first time we met, like officially met, was at my dance showcase.
Yeah. And you guys crushed it. It was amazing. I loved it.
No, thank you. I appreciate your. I know we threw you into something you didn't expect at all, but I'm glad you still loved like the overall showcase in itself.
Very talented.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, man. Before I get into like even more questions, I want to ask, how is your mental health nowadays?
It comes and goes.
Yes.
It's there's a lot going on, especially in the life of a DJ, music producer, trying to make it in that end, as well as someone taking a different career path that I think you'd normally take. I mean, I came out of college with a marketing degree, and now I'm in podcasting, which, I mean, you can attribute marketing to anything.
Yeah.
But doing something a little off the beaten path can be a little stressful because you're worried that, I guess, maybe you become the master of one instead of the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So in case anything ever comes up and you want to pivot, you can't because you only have that one thing.
Yeah.
But I think being mindful of that, focusing on your health, your fitness, and just spending quality time with the people around you, I think is super important. So I think at least being cognizant of that has been really good for me.
Yeah. I mean, that phrase in itself of being jack of all trades or a master of none, I completely agree with you on that. I feel like a lot of our energy at the end of the day is limited, but we do have the capability to do a lot of things and become masters of them. And I know we're going to get into this later, but you've mastered a lot of things or got yourself into a lot of things to get to where you are now, which is incredibly amazing. And I can't wait to get into it.
Thank you.
So let's get into the Funko Pop of the episode. And the Funko Pop I chose for you is Troy Bolton. And the reason why I chose Troy Bolton is because he's a master of, playing ball at his craft. Like, that's what he's really good at. But then he also has this music side that he really loves too, but obviously he shies away from it. But there's that two different dichotomies, or I don't know if that was the right, but two sides of himself. The sporty side and the music side. And for me, you told me that you grew up, loving to be athletic, hikes, playing all different sports. So that's your sports side, but then the other side is that love for music. But obviously you are expressing it a whole lot more than Troy Bolton is.
Well, I don't know. You haven't seen me dance. I think Troy can do a lot better than me.
Well, something I found out was that you actually have also a passion for singing too. And I didn't know that before meeting you as well.
Yeah, I used to, that's kind of how my whole music, at least social media music journey started. Was I would always just post covers of myself doing various stuff that I wanted to learn on the radio. And it kind of just progressed into to what it is now.
Yeah, I did not find that on YouTube. Is it on YouTube somewhere?
I may have
archived it.
Yeah, made them all private. Yeah,
fair enough.
Not that it was bad. It's just didn't align with kind of what I'm currently doing.
Right. Yeah.
Facebook, I think actually everything was on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't really know if I released on YouTube.
Okay.
Back then.
Guess I didn't do my homework enough. There we go. But yeah, man, I just want to get your reflections on that, on being compared to the great Troy Bolton.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate it, especially if you're relating me to Zac Efron.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
take that 100 times, 10 times out of 10. Yeah. And I'm glad we both have the same kind of like hair
Yes.
situation now. Still trying to figure out what I'm doing with this, but yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate that reflection. I think I do kind of have two different sides of me, and as anyone who's into astrology would say, because I'm a Gemini.
Oh shit, me too.
Oh
Holy
yeah,
shit.
when's your birthday?
June 15th.
Oh,
You?
May 22nd.
May 22nd.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
like next week.
So people call us crazy, right?
Yeah, but also like, I mean, so I'm not that outgoing of a guy,
Okay.
and I think that's kind of also the two sides of me as well. It's like I have that performance side of me that like really like this energy that comes out whenever I'm DJing or like maybe in a social situation with close friends that I've met before. But put me in a room with people that I've, are complete strangers and I'm terrified. So there's definitely two sides of it, and as well as you mentioned, I feel like almost two sides of my personality as well, where I have this very passionate love for music and art and craft and all this kind of like amazing stuff of creation, but as well as I guess more of the business grit,
Yeah.
determination, discipline that comes with athletics and I guess like my own personal experiences in life, going to business school and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you absolutely love what you do, and it's very honorable and admirable. Like how you talk about, obviously music production, music in itself, and editing, and all, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, yeah, you really love this shit, and it shows. And it shows.
Thank you. Thank you.
You mentioned it. You briefly mentioned, but yeah, let's get into the questions. Let's start. When did you fall in love with music?
So I tell this story a lot, but my mom had like signed me up for piano lessons against my own will.
Okay.
I have two older sisters, and she just signed us all up for piano lessons because that's just what she did. She was like, "You guys got to do something, like have something to do. I'm gonna just sit around and watch TV." So I ended up showing up to this, and I went through the classes and everything. It was we were learning a lot of jazz, classical, and I think the most contemporary music that we would play was the Beatles. So nothing spanned past like 1970.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where my sisters fell off a little bit. They don't really play anymore. I think the only reason why I continued is because I took the skills that I learned through playing all these songs and found a way to transform them into playing music that I actually wanted to play. So I learned chords, I learned melodies, I learned scales just to be able to play the hot music on the radio that I enjoyed listening to and wanted to play myself. So I spent a lot of time listening to music, trying to just recreate the melody by ear. Fortunately, at the time, a lot of these songs had these like YouTube tutorials as well. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, it's almost like a Guitar Hero style version of piano. So you can kind of just like watch through the video and like see where the chords are hitting, as well as even I'll go on like guitar tabs, even though it's for guitar, it's still the same scales. So I'll figure out all these ways to play music that I enjoyed playing, and that's kind of where singing got into it as well. I was like, okay, maybe I'll take out the top melody and actually sing these vocals and stuff and just try it out. That's initially where it started, and it just kind of grew from there. Just always wanted to continue to develop and learn more. And, from me learning piano at 6 years old, kind of has now transcended into me producing original music on a computer, DJing. Unfortunately, I haven't picked up any other instruments, but I mean, now that I've gotten into the computer, I basically can play
anything you want. Yeah. I feel like piano is such a it's such a like foundational piece if you really want to get into music. I've always wondered, like, I guess, why is that? Like, do you have any idea on why like the piano is such an integral piece to starting like me, like if you want to get into music or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I kind of sense that as well, but I don't know if it's a bias just because that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people as well will like swear by the guitar, which I can't wrap my head around at all. I don't understand like the playing different stuff up here, but then also like strumming like this almost feels like the patting your head and doing the stomach stuff.
Yeah.
But then also people can't wrap their heads around two hands doing the same thing at the same time. So I think what's fortunate about, I think, when you get into music production is that a lot of what they're called MIDI keyboards. So it's like a basically keyboard that hooks up to your computer that you can play any synthesizer or any actually instrument. So I can even play the guitar on a keyboard or guitar sounds on a keyboard. So I think that's just a more universal product that a lot of people will use to get into music production. But I will say there's a fair amount of producers that don't know how to play piano and also don't even know music theory or anything about music that are incredibly talented and successful.
Wow.
They just go off of what they think sounds good and they crush it.
You know, what would it be like to be like that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, great, I worked 10,000 hours for this and you just picked it up. Thanks.
Right. I know. It's crazy.
But like, you know, it's just like, you know, it's what you are quote unquote given in life, right? It's like, you know, LeBron got the most athletic shit that anyone could ever ask for.
Right.
And he was gifted that. But then again, he is very hard work and talented. So I won't take that any from him. Please, LeBron fans, don't hate me. So you decide to go into school for marketing as you're, you know, developing this passion for music. I guess why didn't you go for music as a major in the first place?
I haven't really been very risk taking with that. I think especially my parents wanted me to at least get something stable and with some kind of pathway already. I mean, going strictly into music is kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, which can be very advantageous for people, but I think I wasn't ready to take that step yet. But I think something really amazing about marketing is it's still, even though it's business related, it's still in that creative field. What I loved about marketing is just being able to come up with new ideas in order to, you know, portray a product or a service or anything that you're trying to show off. I mean, even for myself, all the marketing material that I learned and basically have done by trial and error is now applied to my music career.
Wow.
So I already know that I have a leg up based off of my experience kind of, you know, learning in this field so much. So I'm happy that at least I've been able to apply all this marketing degree to my passion. But I wasn't ready to go full on music.
No, that makes sense. No, I definitely resonate with that too. I'm not a very risk adverse person too, and so I had 2 degrees from UMass. It was accounting, and then the other one was sports management. Sports management was the one that was like, oh, if I put all my eggs in one basket, that's very risky. But accounting was like, okay, it's safe. I can do math, like that's fine. And it's funny that you say that, you know, you can actually apply what you learned in school to your actual job. I feel like a lot of people kind of don't really have that same experience because it's like everything's so textbook, but like you don't know the real life scenario until you get into the real life scenario.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I'm still Googling like accounting laws, like as I'm working, because I'm not going to remember that like out of my head, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's super cool that you're able to apply it.
Yeah. I mean, even like the social media world has changed significantly since I graduated college as well. And I think that's such a huge portion of marketing. So I will say I never learned that in school. And I don't even know if they currently teach that either.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a rapidly changing industry that it's not even worth them teaching you because it's just going to be irrelevant by the time you graduate.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think just being what I've kind of learned even more recently is just being a little more vulnerable and, you know, constantly wanting to learn and develop and keep up with the trends in the industry is also just as important. And sure, I can take the foundational skills that I learned at UMass to kind of get a starting off point and understand where I'm heading. But I also think it's important to be able to actually get your feet wet and just try things out, learn as much as you can, and grow from there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think trial and error is such a huge thing that you have to understand and to do in life, because you won't know until you do it, right?
Yep.
I'm such in a like around and find out like kind of mindset right now.
That's how you got to do it, yeah.
Whether that's life experiences, like brand experiences, anything like that, I am really in just a get and find out experience. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it.
Hopefully it's not in the bad way, but we adapt and we get there, you know.
Yeah. You'll find out.
Yeah, I will find out.
Yeah.
What was that first song that you covered, by the way?
Oh, the first song I covered, I actually don't even know, because I was actually pumping them out pretty regularly. I think the first one that I actually did publicly was this song by Rob Thomas, called Little Wonders.
Okay.
It's in the movie in the movie Meet the Robinsons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like I think it's a DreamWorks or Pixar movie.
Yes.
And I don't know, it really resonated with me, because the song's just about like really appreciating the small moments in life, and like really kind of taking advantage of the time that you have now.
Yeah.
And how you'll appreciate that later on in life, to be able to just be a little more fulfilled. So that really meant a lot to me. That was definitely one of the most important ones, I think. I posted that song when I graduated high school, being like, this is it. Like, this is like, I'm finally leaving my hometown.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a huge step in my life and everybody's life, and that I graduated with. Yeah. And then the other fun anecdote is another song that I actually did live in front of my entire class was it was this. So I went to Westford Academy. We had a little talent show called Mr. WA.
Yeah.
It was basically like Miss
pageant stuff.
Pageant,
Yeah.
But it was all guys.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of funny.
Yeah.
And we all had our own talent portion, and mine was obviously playing piano and singing. But I did Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder.
Nice.
I played the first half, and then once I got to like the solo section, I slowed down and was like, wait a second, like, if Stevie Wonder did this song, I feel like I'm not doing it the proper justice.
Yeah.
So then I took out a blindfold out of my back pocket and did the rest of the song blindfolded.
Holy shit, dude, that's wild. Dude,
Yeah.
and that's so, I mean, not that you were intending on winning, but like, that's so smart.
I didn't win, just for the record.
Hey, whoever teacher's
Still
judging
bitter.
that, y'all f***ed up.
I came in third place.
You came in third on that? Who won?
Actually, my good friend John Ko, he did Chinese yo-yos.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
actually really impressive.
Okay.
So I can succeed the first place to him.
Okay.
Second place, it was just some guy who read a poem. So I'm like, all right, come on.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I was gonna say,
But it's past me,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, Peter still thinks about it at night. Just like, "Nah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you one day. That's awesome. Holy shit. And did people know you like sang like even before that show? Or
By that time they did. A lot of them did, because
Okay.
I mean, I was Facebook friends with a lot of them. I was posting a lot of my covers on Facebook.
Gotcha.
But doing I think we used to have these kind of open mic nights at a community center in Westford every like Friday night.
Okay.
And a couple times I would go up there. I forget the first time I ever did a song live, but it was actually genuinely terrifying.
Oh, I bet.
I think I broke kind of the ice a little bit by posting them on Facebook
Okay.
and
Yeah.
YouTube before I really did it in person. So
Yeah.
I think at least I was comfortable with doing it in front of like people.
People, yeah.
But yeah, doing it for the first time in front of people was a lot.
Yeah.
Heart was racing for sure.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that's kind of interesting that you said posting it on social media actually broke the ice to like, you know, that stage fright of doing it in person. Because I feel like no matter what the Like no matter what I post on social media, I feel like I'll still be afraid of like,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah. Even like what we're doing now, it's like I can't help but think like that I'm actually in front of an audience right now because I know that there's a camera on. Like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's just something different.
Yeah. Oh, it always is. It always
Yeah.
is. Hopefully, as the episode continues, I can kind of make you feel like that goes away.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're
I'll
good.
be more natural.
No, you're good. You're good. You're
Less
good. You're good.
performative.
You're good. Now I'm on a mission. But let's go into, now that you've had this passion for music and you're creating things. So what made you go the, DJ and music producing route?
I don't think I ever anticipated getting this far.
Really?
Yeah, so I got really well. Actually, to start off, so I met my friend Breadman.
Yeah.
In college, our freshman year, we had a mutual friend, actually John Coe,
Okay.
who won the pageant.
Damn, John Coe.
So they knew each other, and that's how I kind of got connected with Brendan at UMass. His brother bought him a MIDI controller, like one of those keyboard things, and he started producing before me. And every time we hung out, I just got kind of more interested in what he was doing. So slowly, I started to pick it up myself, and I got my own controller, and I started working on it aside from him.
Yeah.
And then as that goes on, I started releasing more music and all that kind of stuff. And with DJing, it was actually influenced by my other good friend from UMass, Liam, who goes by well, kind of funny that I'm saying it now. He goes by the DJ name Friend Liam.
Friend Liam.
Plays all around Boston now. And he had, once again, a DJ controller that he would just DJ like our pre-games, like just hangouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And he would just like kind of play some music. And I fell in love with it because even though all the music and all the piano and everything was a part of my life, another part of my passion for music was all these summer vacations and trips that me and my family had, my friends, my sisters, and I all shared a 2001 Honda Accord.
Okay.
It was too new to have a tape cassette player,
Okay. Yeah.
but it was too old to have, or did I do that the right way? It was too old. Yeah, it was too old to have a aux port.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had to burn CDs, and I found such an amazing passion in just curating all this like really cool, very road trippy music that I could play for people when I'm driving them around in the car or listen to myself.
Nice.
So all that being said, I really enjoy discovering new music and sharing it with other people. So I think DJing just started to come naturally to me once I realized that was an option. That was something to do. That whole thing kind of progressed into me doing house parties and such our senior year. And then I finally got my first opportunity to play professionally down at a pub in Springfield called Patty's Pub. And one of my friends from my high school was going to school down there. He mentioned to me that they had an opening. So that was my first professional gig. Started doing some club spots in Amherst later on. And this is all my spring semester senior year.
Damn.
So it was a very fast progression through my DJing career. Then finally getting into Boston, which I had the very amazing opportunity to start working with Big Night Entertainment Group the following fall. I had, like I said, I was fortunate enough. My dad had actually been childhood friends with the owners, so Ed Kane and Joe Kane. So I was able to get a nice foot in the door to get in contact with DJ Costa, who's their director of entertainment.
Gotcha.
And initially, I had been emailing him just being like, hey, I'm just interested in the industry. I would love to come out to a show, or maybe I can work night or like lights or shadow somebody. And without even asking anything else, he got back to me saying, yeah, we actually have some opening spots for dinner set DJs. Like, send me a mix and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So I sent him a mix, didn't hear anything back. I reached out to him a week later, didn't hear anything back. Reached out to him a week later, finally got through to him.
Yeah.
Set up a meeting, showed up to the office. He forgot that we were meeting. I mean, I'm not bashing him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
an incredibly busy guy,
Of
but I'm
course.
just trying to paint the picture of what my mom always loves to say is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I was persistent in my communication with him. I knew that there was an opportunity there, and I took advantage of it. And fortunately enough, come the fall, I started opening up, doing like 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. dinner set shifts at Red Lantern, at Empire, at Scorpion Bar, all around the city. And then just by always being available, always growing, building up my marketing, building up my brand,
Yeah.
I've now had the opportunity to open up for some incredible artists around that have toured around the world, as well as had some headlining shows myself at some of these clubs.
Yeah. Holy shit, man. What a story. I mean, it's a definition of like putting yourself out there as much until something hits. And what gigs were in Amber? I'm trying to think like what other gigs were in Amber?
There was a club called Monkey Bar that it was actually very fortunate because I played there on Thursdays.
Okay.
So it was like kind of an off night.
Yeah.
But I still got paid.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunities on Friday and Saturday to still go out with my friends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah, that's
I didn't
true.
really give up my senior year college experience, but I still could start paving the groundwork for, my DJing career down the road to start like getting reps in and just start like getting more association with being a club DJ than just a DJ
Bar.
who does house parties.
Yeah. How was that first gig? I mean, how did that feel in terms of like, obviously like first time, it's definitely nerve-wracking. Was it like you had a whole planned set, like mix, like just overall, how was that first gig?
It's funny. So I don't know if Brendan mentioned it during his episode, but he does a lot of preparation for his sets.
Yeah.
And it shows because he does an incredible job curating a playlist and really creating a vibe throughout the entire set.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much. Okay. And I still don't really. I create some pockets of songs and at least a library of stuff that I want to choose from.
Yeah.
But I've found to be the most fulfilling sometimes, and it's going to sound like I'm lazy, winging sets. And I forget if I did that the first time, but I think it's a little more special when you're doing what we call open format, which is like every genre. You're playing hip hop, Latin, house, R&B, rock, you name it. And if you're going into a set already knowing what you're going to play, you're ridding yourself of actually your opportunity to read a crowd. Because if you're like, I'm going to play house music and music that I like, and it doesn't matter what people like because I'm the DJ.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, some people are fine with now. I've kind of transitioned into a point in my career where I can start to be like that a little bit. But starting out, I need to make sure that the people in the bar and the bar owner who's paying me are enjoying the music.
Yeah.
So I really started to get my practice in playing music, looking around, seeing if people are bobbing their heads, dancing. And if they're not, move on, try something else.
Yeah.
And if they are, stick with it for a little bit,
Yeah.
but then continue to switch up the vibe.
Yeah.
And I think I will remember, I don't think I was good at that my first gig because there are videos of me playing at this pub, which is like a dive bar.
Yeah.
And kind of a lot of townies and college students, but I was playing like festival big room EDM. And I think they were enjoying it, but now that I look back on it, I'm like, that wasn't the right vibe for that. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely remember being nervous. I had to bring down all my equipment. It was like a half-hour drive, but the really great part about it was all my friends that I had at UMass all came with me.
Yeah.
So I at least had a lot of support with me while I was down there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the crazy thing too is like your friends that you had like that also got into this part of industry. I mean, look at you guys now. I mean, you guys are doing like very successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a failed gig?
There was one gig that I had down in Scorpion Bar, Patriot Place, that was not necessarily failed, but I probably one of my worst. And I forget what the reasoning was, but for some reason I couldn't get my laptop connected. This is when so right now I DJ with a USB stick. I just plug it into one of the CDJs and I'm good to go. This is when I was still playing on my laptop, which I connected and just used the CDJs as a controller for my laptop. Some reason I couldn't get my laptop connected, but I did happen to have a couple the laptop kept getting disconnected. So the music would like cut.
Oh shit.
And I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this because something's wrong with this cord.
Yeah.
So I ended up luckily having one USB with some songs on it, but I wasn't really in that period where I was doing USB music regularly, and I don't actually think I exported it correctly because it wasn't playing music right.
Yeah.
Long story short, I barely had enough music to end the night because I had gotten to, I think the club closed at 1 down there in Foxborough. I had gotten to like 12:30, and I had a pre-made mix that I had to just toss on because I didn't have any music.
Right.
And I think it ended at 1.
Oh.
So I was like, a couple songs away from just not having
anything,
music, or just having to play something again that people just heard a half an hour ago.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an embarrassing moment for me. There was other times I've had to deal with some faulty equipment, like there was times, so there's these things called hot cues on CDJs that allow you to just push a button and it'll skip to a certain period of the song.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the buttons were a little loose on this equipment, so every time the bass hit, it would actually trigger the button. So what would happen is if a song was playing and it got to the drop, and a big bass hits, it triggers the first button that jumps it back to the beginning of the song.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So that was a little tough because then I would have to there's obviously two sides to the DJing controller, so I would have to have a song playing on one side, duplicate it to the other side, and whenever I noticed it jumping back, I'd have to flip it onto the other side so I can at least keep it at the same period of song, and then continue doing the same thing because both sides were doing the same exact thing. So there's definitely been some headaches I've had. A couple others whenever I do private events. Unfortunately, I'm not the most I shouldn't be saying this publicly. I'm not the most organized person. And there's definitely been some private events that have made me sweat a little bit, just off of kind of the pressures of getting equipment set up, maybe forgetting something at home. But everything's been doing fine so far.
I know Brendan's probably listening to this. He was like, "I told you, man. I keep telling you."
Oh man, yeah, he's very on top of his stuff. Yeah. He has a lot of wedding experience that I think has really given him a great experience to be able to put on his own events and do that. Yeah, he knows exactly what boxes he needs to fill.
Oh yeah, for sure. Obviously, we've talked about how you got into DJing and music producing, and experiences and things you learned, things that struggles that you've learned from. But I do want to talk about a struggle that happened in your career, and that was you took a 3-year hiatus. And I want to know what happened, what made you take the hiatus, and what made you come back.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think this is something that a lot of music producers and creatives will be able to relate to, but I struggled a lot with kind of this idea of perfectionism, where no one's ever going to tell you when you've completed a project. As a painter, there's always something that you could add or fix. As a music producer, there's always something that you could tweak or add or anything. Yeah. So it started this really tough cycle where I got really excited about starting new ideas, and I could flourish them out into a decent sized track. But then once I got to a certain period, I would have listened to it enough where I'd be like, all right, I don't like this anymore. This isn't good.
Yeah.
Because I was working on it so much, it just didn't really become a spectacle to me anymore. And I would keep trying to go back to it to really try to finish it and, making these tweaks, but always thinking in the back of my head, no, this isn't quite done yet. Like, I think I'm 95% there. It could use like a little better mixing, or it could be louder, or I could change this section, change the vocal, you name it. So, like I said, it started this really tough cycle of always constantly working on music and being productive, but never releasing it because I never actually felt like the music that I was creating kind of lived up to the expectations of what I was putting in my head. And this is also coming after I had the great pleasure of releasing one of my songs actually under a record label. So I had Liftoff Recordings under Disco Fries, who are two amazing DJs, have been in the industry for a long time, signed one of my songs, and it did fairly well. I think it's probably at around 30,000 streams on Spotify right now. But I think this put a standard in my head that I needed to hit every single time. Because from this moment on, I was self-releasing whenever I felt like I was done with a project. I would just put it out. And I also felt that each project I came out with was better than the last. But what happens when I now have a song that gets signed to a record label, now it puts this crazy goal in front of me where in order to outdo myself, I need to go crazy with the production and make this song the most perfect piece of music that I've ever created. So as I mentioned, it just created this really tough cycle of always trying to perfect a song and it never actually being done until when I went to Miami Music Week, which to those who don't know, there's a music festival down in Miami called Ultra Music Festival. And the week prior is called Miami Music Week. And what happens is a lot of the DJs that are playing at Ultra will arrive early, throw all these sorts of pool parties, rooftop parties and stuff. So I had just gone down there for that last year. And that was an incredibly inspiring and pinnacle moment of my career because not only did it create an entire rebrand for myself, but it also broke me out of this system where I'm seeing these guys on stage thinking to myself, sure, there's a decent amount of stuff that's different between us, but the main difference between these guys and me is that they release their music. They make themselves vulnerable to be able to share their music with the crowd. Because what's happening with me right now is that, sure, like maybe this song isn't up to the industry standards, but I'm still putting it out there and I'm still getting better every single time I release songs. But if I keep going back to the same piece of music, I'm never going to be able to progress past that point. So it lit this fire in me that wasn't really necessarily thinking, this song's good enough. Let me put it out. But it really incentivized me to say, let me be more disciplined about where I want this music to end up. And actually force myself to put it out. And I do laugh because after that happened, I did end up releasing one song after that. And then once again, went on a very long, tough hiatus. But, same deal this year. I went to Miami Music Week, still really found the passion of being like, I need to really do this. I need to sit down and get stuff out there. And I think it's even stronger now. I have a song coming out June 13th. It's called By My Side. And I'm already continuing to work on other projects. to hopefully come out with, a month after that, a month after that, and a month after that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, by the way, love the preview of your new song that's coming out June 13th. I'm already like vibing with it. I was like,
Thank
this is
you.
gonna be a good one. But also, you really touch base on if we're talking about mentality standpoint, right? Perfectionist mindset. You plan, or you keep looking at the same thing over and over again. And like you said, uh, for me to reflect on the same, resonate with, it's me looking at like my gym reels or like Instagram reels or that I'm creating, right? It's like there's always something you can do better, and no matter how many times you ask, other people to get their opinions in, it's just creating more noise to the fact that you're not putting it out there into the world. And as a creator, as a content creator, if you're not putting out content, then you're just creating with no view. I guess like nobody's looking, right? But that kind of dives into why what perfection can do to our brains and how it can hinder really any type of growth, and goes against the whole like trial and error, because you won't know if it actually is going to hit with the public unless you put it out there. And I think it's great that you had that inspiration and fire from like, just exposing yourself to already something that's in the industry. And yeah, just like kind of glad that you just didn't keep that perfectionist mindset from keeping yourself from doing something that you genuinely love. For anyone that maybe is dealing with a perfectionist mindset, and again, you may have already touched base on this, but any advice that you give to them of like how to push through perfection or maybe change their mindset about perfection?
Yeah, so it's interesting too, because as we say this as well, I don't think there's any harm in also keeping things to yourself. If that's what if you enjoy making music for yourself and you don't ever intend on putting it out, that's fine.
Yeah.
But for someone who actually wants to make a career of it and wants to grow and develop in the industry, it's important to be able to push past that and actually share your work with the world, because that's what's going to get you bookings at clubs and festivals and streams on Spotify and other avenues to get, to monetize your passion. For my advice, and something that I've started to practice lately, especially for music producers, is the one thing that I'm doing is be careful about who you share your music with. And by that, I mean, when I would work on ideas and really have something that I'm excited about, no matter how far in the process I was, I would always want to share it with people.
Yeah.
Because there was no harm in doing that, because I could always sit underneath the statement that, oh, it's not done yet. So it's like, just wanted to send you like some initial ideas.
Yeah.
And what I was looking for is validation from these producers and DJs and friends to be like, oh my God, this song's insane. This is the song of the summer. Like you really crushed it on this one. But what would happen is I would send it to DJs and producers and my friends, and sometimes I wouldn't get that reaction. And it would create this tough thing in my head that, okay, so if this person's not really liking this, then maybe there's something that I need to fix with it. Or I would get specific feedback on a track and say, I don't really know if I like how you did it this way. You should do it this way. So now I'm having other people make my music for me.
Right.
So I think it's important to be able to get feedback from trusted people and people that have been through the industry and can give you objective feedback on, maybe the way you mix something or what could be added here from someone who's been through it before. But the one thing that I was doing is I was sending it to my friends who don't normally listen to the type of music that I make.
Yeah.
So they're giving me these kind of meh reactions, not because the song's bad, but because they just don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But it was tough for me to deal with that, because once again, it ends up throwing me into this whole cycle of needing to perfect it to gain their approval. So I think that's my one big piece of advice is be careful about who you share things with. And I think it's important to set a deadline. I think if you actually want to start growing, I think if you start a project, flesh it out as quickly as possible. The one thing that producers will tend to do a lot is they'll create a loop, and they'll make a really cool loop, but then they won't actually be able to flesh it out into a song. Figure out a way to get that into a somewhat of a skeleton song as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And then set a actual deadline for yourself to have it done by. Like, hold yourself to some sort of standard to say, wherever I am at this point, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's not let this thing sit for like years to come. Where I know some DJs and producers that have been in the industry for a while have had these stories of saying, oh, this is a project that I started like 5 years ago, and like we just set. But for someone just starting out, whatever you're currently working on now needs to be your top priority.
Yeah.
And if it's not giving you that excitement and passion that, you know, some of your other projects might have had, try it out for a little bit longer, see if you can get anything out of it. And if you're not, then move on.
Yeah.
Don't keep coming back to the same. You can save the project, but move on to something else that's going to give you that more fire and excitement.
Yeah. No, that's great advice, because especially with content creation and I'll always have like these certain types of ideas I want to do, but like I'm always like, I'll shelve it because I'm like, because I have to build a foundation of, I'm editing all this stuff on my own, and like I have to get podcast episodes out, and like having to have that kind of balance of, I'll have this idea but not put any effort towards it until later and later. But then that event becomes, once I post it, it becomes like, well, this was done like a year ago, so like why, like, it's not anything like recent. Like I really want to get out this vlog, and hopefully by this time this episode comes out, it does come out.
Okay, all right.
But there's a UMass Amherst. I went back to like teach a dance workshop, and like I vlogged my whole day because I was like, I want to see if I can, do this, and I think it's really fun. I've always had a big dream of YouTube played such a big role in my life, and like seeing how like vloggers and like people that made skits and all that stuff, like I was like, I really want to do that too. But because I wasn't very risk adverse, like we talked about, I was like, I can't really explore that because like that's like really risky. But anyways, like I really want to put that out there, and like because it's something I always dreamed of seeing myself do. So I think that's great advice to like put a deadline, whether you're gonna release it or not. Like just still like put a deadline so that way you can keep moving forward. And yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be something that you could do better. It always
Exactly.
is, and like the product just has to get to a certain point. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think understanding your growth is incredibly important to really give yourself a broader scope of what you've been able to accomplish. It makes me laugh sometimes when I look back on the music that I released when I was first learning how to produce. But at the time, I thought that was the best thing that I've ever made.
Always.
And here I am, sometimes a couple years later, sometimes even less. And I'm like, this shit's bad.
Yeah.
So your reference point is always moving. As you mentioned, the goalpost, and wherever you are in life and whatever goals you're trying to set, it's always going to get pushed back.
Yeah.
But that just means that you're moving forward. And I think understanding that wherever you are today, if you like what you're working on, that's all that matters. Don't worry about, and I know it sounds cliche, but don't worry about comparing yourself to other producers in your area. If you are coming out with something that you are happy about and that you have conviction with, that's the most important thing. Because as I mentioned, I'm coming out with EPs and singles when I'm 1 or 2 years into music production, and I listen back on it now and it's not mixed well, and there's plenty of other things that I could have done differently to that. But I put it out, I moved on, and here I am at this moment, and I'm coming out with songs that I currently love.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, a couple more years goes down the line, and I'm at a even different level where the music that I'm coming out with now, I look back on that and I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to look back on my music and say it sounds terrible. There's your clickbait.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's the greatest part of it, is really seeing your own growth and seeing the stuff that you worked on in the past and seeing what you can accomplish and what you can accomplish better and more efficiently now. I think is great.
Yeah, I never thought about to look back and be like, you want that kind of like, dang, that sucked. But like in a way, it's good because it shows like how much you've grown.
Yeah.
I also think finding your, like you said, finding your voice, the comparison thing. We all know comparison is the thief of joy. But how did you find your quote unquote voice or the music that like is your unique style with such a, very, I don't want to say saturated market, but we know like, Knock 2 has its own voice. ISOXO has its own voice. Dabin has its own voice. How did you find your own kind of voice in music?
So it's actually taken me a while to figure out where, it's come from, because I think for a lot of creatives, they can just kind of say, and I can say for myself, is that it's just something that's always been inside of me. Like the ideas for music, melodies, harmonies, you name it, that come out when I produce music. I can't pinpoint where they come from because it's just something that's in my head. But the more I think about it, I think, as I mentioned previously, some of my fondest moments are when we're in my hometown on summer vacation for high school, college, and me and my hometown friends really don't have many responsibilities. We don't have many expenses. We're just kind of goofballs hanging out, getting into trouble and, hanging out in the local areas, as well as going on road trips, hikes, beach trips, you name it.
Yeah.
And as I look back on the music that I create today, I think everything that I create soundtracks that period of my life. It has a sense of, in my eyes, nostalgia to it, but also energy and just positive energy, feel good energy, and just good vibes, for lack of a better term. And I don't know if I'm actually consciously thinking that as I'm coming out with something, but I think that's just what, as I look back on it, I think that's just what's naturally coming out of me, because that's just what I enjoy. That's the kind of music that I like. And I think it's a balance between stuff like that and also the stuff that I find myself listening to currently that's giving me the energy and joy of the people that I'm currently listening to in the industry. Guys like Salute, Sammy Vergi, Knock 2, Retrovision, Avicii was one of my biggest inspirations growing up. I mean, that is exactly where I can pinpoint these summer vacations that I had completely aligned with his True album.
Yeah.
And had so many great songs like Hey Brother, Wake Me Up, all these amazing songs that he created. So I think in a way that's kind of subconsciously where I find my voice, is kind of how I identify and some of my most favorite moments in life, and kind of what has been the soundtrack to those moments, in combination with the kind of modern time where I'm taking inspiration from the stuff that also is now kind of reinventing the industry, newer stuff that's coming out that can modernize the nostalgia.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that speaks volumes to like just creators, like you said, creators in general. It's like we always try to find our voice, try not to like do the same thing as like other people, try to make ourselves unique. But the thing is, like when you're, say for example, listening to other music or researching other reels and stuff on how to make content, really like at the end of the day, like if you look at that and be like, you're like, hey, like I really like that, I want to emblem something, but also put your own spin on it, that is the thing that's gonna make you so much different than the other creators that you're basing your content off. Like one of my good friends, he talks to me about how like, hey, like if you really like this, like let's do it. Let's try to make something like it. But like putting your own spin on it, and it's just about doing what you love, or like showing that you love it so much and putting it out there, and that's what your voice is. And we're all one of one. Like that's what makes us beautiful in our own sense. We're all one of one, and that's what's gonna make people like start to like watch your content and listen to you.
Yeah, and even like more recently too, I've been having these kind of identity crises a little bit in terms of like who I am and how I want to portray myself. But I think it kind of goes in that same idea that it's like that should just come naturally to you. You should just be exactly who you currently are, because going back to the comparison a little bit, you see a lot of these DJs and producers like Knock2, for example, who have a little bit more of an eccentric appearance to them and kind of taste that, you look at his success and you're like, oh, maybe I should also grow out my hair really long and dye my hair and get tattoos and wear chains and baggy pants because that's working for him and he's finding some audience in that. But I think if you were to follow trends like that, you're just not being authentic with yourself or your audience, because I think you should, sure, maybe when I get on stage, I play and act a little bit because I'm not as outgoing as I am on stage behind closed doors. But if I were to, wear uncomfortable clothing and appeal to an audience that I want to appeal to just because it's currently trending, it's not sustainable and it's not fulfilling.
At some point, like, you may be trying to live up to that facade, but at some point you're just like, you can't live up to it anymore. And you're having your most fun when you're just being your authentic self too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think one of the things in your content was like, guess what my hands are doing? And I was like, bro, like the only like your hands and what you do, like when you're up playing a set, like that's unique to you. Like whether you like, you're jumping.
By the way, I was DJing.
Yeah. Sorry. That, good context, by the way. Good context. I did not realize that. Holy shit. I did not put enough context. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
But yeah, like it's just like that kind of stuff too. And, it's also like when you look at it from a consumer standpoint, if you're doing the same thing as someone else, like that is already like successful, like highly successful, it's like, what makes that person be like, oh, like I'm just going to also follow you because you're just getting two of the same things,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you be an introvert in this type of industry?
Right. So I think an important thing, I guess, to first note, I find myself to be an introvert in settings, and I'm sure most people do, in settings where I don't know anybody. There's a handful of people out there, and most people are in the entertainment industry, who will go into a room of strangers and, be the life of the party and, shake everybody's hands and make everybody their best friend.
Yeah.
I'm okay with watching that all from the sidelines, but when I'm in a situation where maybe I know it's advantageous to my career, or I'm with people who make me a little more comfortable, then I can break out of my shell a little bit and I can exhibit those traits that an extrovert could have. So I can, tell stories in front of a group of people and be the life of the party. It's all about kind of putting yourself in those situations with people who make you comfortable. And I think if you can be with a group of people that is your guys, your girls, you name it, it'll definitely help you out a little bit more. But I also don't know if it's exactly necessary in person. I think a lot of networking that I've been doing lately happens on social media. And I don't know if you necessarily need to be an extrovert in order to shoot someone a DM.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it maliciously either. A lot of the and I'd also don't want to make this seem like it's some kind of formula,
Mm.
but there's a lot of people in the industry that are either above me in level or kind of at the same level as me, or maybe I'm maybe a little higher than them that I admire and appreciate externally. And I'll give them my flowers whenever I can. If I see someone succeed and someone releases a song or someone's headlining a major show, I will shout them out. It's all about supporting each other and kind of just being that face for them. And I think that's so helpful for networking because you're not asking for anything. You're just kind of being that guy and you're putting yourself in their circle because now they respect you and they appreciate your support. Kind of similarly, I guess to tie it all back is the way that I handle my relationships being an introvert is similar to how I broke the ice doing piano covers and vocal covers online. So because I'm not comfortable enough with doing that in person right away, I still want to play to my strengths and figure out a way that I can do it the best way possible.
Yeah.
In that I'll reach out to them online whenever I can, show support, don't ask for anything. And when I ever see them in person, we already have built that up a connection.
Yeah.
I basically already digitally shook your hand and introduced myself. So now, at least from my eyes, it might be different for other people. It doesn't feel as scary.
Yeah.
Because you guys basically already know each other. You're basically seeing a friend. You just happen to be seeing them in person for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of touched upon, like, doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Like, it's more about just being a human being, being a person, being like a good person, and not just being like, hey, like, hey, I'm only saying hi to you because I want something out of you. And Brendan, on his episode, he like explicitly said that. He was like, I know when, mofos are like doing, like, only saying hi to me because they want something, versus someone who just genuinely like has respect for you and genuine care for you. So yeah, I think if you are labeling yourself as like an introvert, like, just take that label away and just be like, what do I need to do in terms of like just a network style, and more just putting yourself out there and just being a human being, like just being a good person overall.
I think you'll be surprised how compassionate a lot of people in the music industry actually are. Even, for example, just last night, a big support of mine in the Boston industry has been this promoter, Jeff London. He really inspired me and kind of forced me to kind of up my networking game, because I would open up for these incredible artists like Diplo, Dylan Francis, Steve Aoki, Tiesto, and I would open up for them, probably not even say a word, go off in my corner and just watch them from afar.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But you're not taking full advantage of that moment.
Yeah.
And maybe not exactly with those guys in the example, because they have a separate team and security and stuff. But there are guys on a different level that I've had the opportunity to open up for that I've actually been able to connect with afterwards. And it's so scary when you put it in your head. You're like, oh, these guys are, they're touring around the country. They got, 50,000 Instagram followers. They don't want to talk to me. Like, but you wouldn't believe the amount of people that will, be willing to give you their phone number and give you an email address or follow you back on Instagram. Just, you've already built yourself up to that level where you're opening for them and you're on support with them. They should clearly be able to trust you in that capacity. And whether it's a touring artist and DJ, or if it's just your other local DJ in a bar, all of these guys, we're all in it for the same exact reason. No one should be malicious about it. And if you ever come across someone who is, that's not someone you want to network with anyways.
Yeah. No, for sure. it's like kind of like the gym environment a little bit. Usually the biggest guys are probably the most compassionate about, like, if you ask them like how to do something, they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like we all have started somewhere, and I think we all, no matter how much success we have, we all know what that's like. Granted, there always is a bad apples, of course, but we wouldn't want to be associated with a bad apple in the first place. So yeah. So we obviously got into basically like how your career has been, the struggles, lessons, again, really unpacking a lot of those things. What I really want to do now is really jump into your mindset, because again, like I said before, I really identify you as like a high performer, really love your stuff, which makes you so disciplined in what you're doing. However, I know you mentioned offline that there was a time that you burned out, and like, how do we have this, like, how have you balanced being disciplined without burning out?
Sure. That's something that I still and probably will always continue to struggle with, because I think my experience and maybe my personality is, whenever I start something, I get very excited about it. So I start all these projects. Even more recently, I bought a whole new PC desktop setup that my plan was to live stream every week and release a new YouTube video every week. And also I went through a period where I was all on content. I was coached to release at least 2 pieces of content a day on every single platform. And I was doing that for about 3 or 4 months, and then started to slowly slow down. I used to go from that to once a day to once every other day. And now I'm doing like maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to do what I did in that aspect, where I think you hit the ground running. And then you find your equilibrium, and you find what actually makes you comfortable, as long as you're not, whatever it is, you're not completely stopping. Because I think momentum is a really important thing in any industry. I mean, even going to the gym and stuff, like, you want to strike while the iron's hot, and you want to really get as much as you can out of your energy and your creative flow. But there's definitely been plenty of times where I've bit off more than I could chew, and I've abandoned things that I thought I had the capacity for. And once again, I think that's a balance because I also don't exactly know what my comfort level is until I put myself into the fire. So I don't think it's not a good practice to burn out.
Yeah.
It's going to sound weird that I say that, because I think as long as you can get yourself back on the horse, now you know where your level's at. Now you know what you have the time and energy for, and you have a better reference on what you want to put your focus onto and what you want to prioritize.
Yeah.
Because something that's also really important to me too is finding a balance between, moving the pendulum forward in the music industry and getting music out there and getting content out there and really growing my brand. But I also want to live life too.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes I can get a little caught up in, because there have been times, and like I said, still exist, where I might be sitting around doing nothing and scrolling on my phone or watching TV. And in the back of my head, I'll be thinking and worried about the lost time that I'm wasting. Not working on something that's progressing me forward. But what's important to remember is that downtime is just as crucial to your growth and development as the time actually putting work into something. Because if you're constantly trying to level up and progress, you're not doing that as efficiently as you could be doing if you're not well rested. And I find, as I mentioned, my brand comes from the time I spend with other people and living life and experiencing outdoors and nature. And I can't have that second side of me that inspires the creative side if I don't ever access it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's wow. That's it literally is like if you're staying up till like 3 a.m. to like work on your craft, but you want to get the same amount of work done the next day, like it's not gonna happen. Like you're just gonna be so tired to the fact that like I can't. And a lot of people have this stigma around rest, and I think not, like you said, not doing things where it's like, oh, like you're wasting time. Like I feel that, honestly, I feel that like when I'm working, like I'll listen to other podcasts that are more for my entertainment versus like I think if you talk to someone else, they're gonna be like, well, you should be listening to a podcast about growing your podcast or like growing as a content creator and all that stuff. Yes, I understand that, I really do, but sometimes you really just gotta allow yourself to be a person and a human being and live life like you said. And if that's what your brand is based off on, yeah, you have to. And also with relationships too, like with relationships that I have with me and my partner, but also like with my friends, like friends, family, all that stuff means so much to me that if I start to really put myself in what's it called, like secluding myself, then those are gonna like fall apart. And I feel bad sometimes, like my mom and my dad sometimes are always like, yeah, like I don't text you because I know you're busy. And it's like like but those are the texts that you want to receive because
Yeah.
you know it's a blessing in itself. And I've also had people tell me, hey, I'm not gonna call or text you because I know you're busy. And I'm like, damn, like I hate feeling like being that busy guy to the point where people are like, I'm not gonna send you a message because I know you're so busy.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, then it really is, that's not helping reality check myself to be like, you got to take care of these relationships too. I've experienced burnout tremendously too on this journey, and trying to find that routine and all that stuff has been, it's a battle, I think, every single day. Yeah. I guess how do you balance, because obviously we've talked about how you do so many things in life, which is great, but how do you balance your passion but also like living life to its fullest?
I don't know actually how I do that.
We go on the wing model always.
I think what I've started to do a little bit more is really start paying attention to my schedule. A lot of the times I would just kind of, as I go about my DJ sets, just kind of wing it.
Yeah.
And I think being a little more disciplined to the time that you're spending with other people and the time that you're spending doing something that you're passionate about is really important because, for example, I'm still, even though I've kind of slowed down on the YouTube videos, I'm still doing the weekly live streams on my YouTube channel and Twitch channel at 8 p.m. every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So then I at least have on my calendar that I know every Tuesday night I am working on music for 2 to 3 hours. And whenever I have plans with friends, I'll put that in my calendar. So then I know there is no going back on the plans that I made with my friends, and that's good. That's okay.
Yeah.
So I think kind of like being a little, it's gonna be weird the amount of times that you schedule things in, just like, because I never was the type of person to just be like, oh, 4 to 6 p.m. On Wednesday evening, hang out with Randy. I would just be like, oh, like I mentally know that's happening,
Right.
so I'm just gonna go hang out with him.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden things get in the way, and then you're like sending a text being like, oh, I'm sorry, like something came up. But if you add it to your calendar and you're at least cognizant of it, you're holding space for that period of your life. But then you can also do the inverse and also have time and space for what's fueling you. You're fueling your passion, your inspiration. So still, I think it's just going to like come in waves because there's definitely going to be, some Tuesday evenings where I'm not really feeling as creative. I still end up doing it so I can have the consistency. But There's going to be days where, like, you know, some inspiration hits me and I want to drop everything I'm doing and go work on something.
Yeah.
And vice versa. There's going to be some spontaneous plan to go
Mm.
grab drinks with friends on a Sunday afternoon that I don't want to pass up.
Yeah.
So I think just not really being married to one side is just the most important. I don't think there's a specific formula on how to exactly do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's creating or knowing your non-negotiables to play around that schedule in terms of like what is non-negotiable in that sense, like your Tuesday 8 p.m. Like I've always, in terms of like you said, it comes in different days, waves. Like some days like you're just like, oh, like I'm on my ish, but other times it's just like, damn, like it's tough. And I want to like David Goggins mindset you guys and just be like, oh, like feelings, like just do it.
Right.
But like that's also not my brand and not what I believe in. It's just like some days, sometimes like I generally just like looking at my computer and I'm like, bro, like I can't, or I start to like not fall asleep, but get so tired looking at a screen because I do that in my regular job day anyways.
Right. Yeah.
I think you got to talk to yourself, be real with yourself with like, hey, like where is my energy at? Can I actually push through this or not? Because me being perfectionist when I was younger, junior year of high school, like I only got 3 hours of sleep every night because I was so focused, like I need to get grades, I need to like all that stuff. But like what did that do to me in the long run? Like I can't get 8 hours of sleep, like no more ever. Like my body wakes up at 6 hours, and 6 hours for me is a good night of sleep. Yeah, but like now as I'm trying to understand, I want to do this like as a coaching thing too, of like helping people realize like, okay, what they can do with their schedule to like quote unquote be more productive, or where you can be like more passionate about certain things and putting time into that, because time is very precious, and if you are passionate about something, I think you should be able to express it.
Feel like it's the whole idea of the classic question of like, you know, when you're 80 years old, what are you going to look back on and appreciate and potentially regret about what you did in life? And I think there's both sides of the coin. I think you want to be fulfilled enough to say, you know, in all my years, I learned and I developed this much and I accomplished all of this stuff. But that's going to mean nothing if you know, lost all of these amazing relationships and the people that you met and the experiences that you had outside of your craft. I mean, I think social media is covered with all these crazy entrepreneurial mindset, alpha male stuff where they're having these insane morning routines and they're working 24 hours a day and they're on business calls and they're flying around the country. And I look at those guys, and I think a lot of people probably do, and they're like, okay, those guys are really successful. They have a lot of money, or at least they're showing that. Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's actually not the case at all. It's just all a front.
Yeah.
But what's the other side of their life? Like, what's their relationship with their parents, with their community, with their partner? And I think that's just as important as how you want to grow individually is how you want to grow collectively with your family, with your partner, with your friends and community. So yeah, it's just looking back on life and just seeing kind of the experiences that you had and the accomplishments that you made, kind of filling both glasses equally so you can really look back and appreciate everything.
Yeah. A guest on a previous episode said that, you know, you can work all your life, do all that stuff, but that mansion is going to be real empty. And I was like, damn, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, and relationships are just super, super important. It's what gonna care. Like we talked about networking, we talked about all this stuff. Like if you don't have those, like it's just harder for you to be on the come up. And for me too, like as I have more guests on, as I have more build community, like no matter where they are, if they are more successful or not, like I want them to grow with me, or I can do anything to help them grow. That's why I put out like different post of like what, you know, recently I did yours like outside the what's it called, outside of the Q&A, like I was listening to your set while I was editing, like because I genuinely was like, you know, after I met you, I was like, yo, this is just a super cool guy, like let me just like listen to one of his sets, like how I listened to like Brendan's sets, right? And I was like, this is obviously like super dope. And like I know obviously you've been in the game for such a long time, but doesn't mean I can't help bring a different audience like to yours as
absolutely.
well. And I'm just huge on like village building community where we all win.
And
Obviously.
even taking that aside too, and you know, you separate the development. I think it's going to sound a little like meta, but like what is life if you're not like interacting with people, sharing stories, sharing ideas, and just kind of interacting with each other. I mean, you take it to the most like primal instinct of it, and like we're all on this planet together. I mean, sure, like as we always mentioned before, there's some bad apples, but everybody is like generally nice and pleasant. And I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to see the whole of it, and I'm always going to be working on it because I'm just not as outgoing in social settings. But there's nothing and I get so inspired by seeing some of these accounts online where it's just people walking down the street giving each other compliments. And I think that's just so fun and important because it's just like, it doesn't hurt to just say, hey, I like your shirt today. Like that's a cool outfit you got on, or whatever. I like your hair. It's just, and then you also take on the piece of you know building a community together. I think is also incredible.
The crazy thing is that's funny that you mentioned about like, you know, telling someone like, oh, I really like your shoes and all that stuff. That blows to that person. Like it was like, oh, like I didn't expect that. Like it breaks their whole reality because they're just like, oh, like this is a normal thing. Which is when you listen to that, it's like it's kind of up in a way in the kind of world. It's like, oh, like we expect the world to not be nice to us, I guess you can say, you know.
And I think especially when it comes to like fashion or something that you can control, because obviously you can get kind of creepy with compliments and people can take that the wrong way.
Right.
But if it's something that you can control, like if it's like your fashion or your hairstyle, it's showing appreciation for someone else's hard work. And people might not think putting an outfit together can be hard work, but my girlfriend has proven me otherwise. She has been my stylist for the past couple of years. And people put time into themselves, and it can absolutely make their day if that's recognized by at least one person.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, fashion, bro, it's so hard. Even trying to pick an outfit for today, I was like, dude, I don't even know what I want to give off of. And like, no, trust me, like finding an outfit nowadays, I just realized that like I have no summer clothes in the direction that I want to fashion wise. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I literally pull the whole thing of like, oh, I have nothing to wear, but like I'm staring at like a full closet of clothes. Shit, man. Well, OP, I think this has been like a beautiful and great conversation. I get to know you a whole lot more, a little about your mindset. And just again, like I knew coming in, I was really excited about this conversation, about getting to know you, your mindset, and how you've, you know, your successes, but also things you learn from as a struggle. And overall, just like I knew from the jump, like, you know, overall cool guy, and like you were a high performer that also just wants to bring good vibes and bring, you know, just a good community with you. So I appreciate you coming on and, you know, telling your story and, you know, allowing me to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, I appreciate you as well. It's all mutual. I really love what you're putting together here. I think you're building an amazing community. So I'm very grateful for you to have me on.
Thank you. Before we get into the wrap-up session, I just wanted to ask you, the floor is open now. If there's any topic or thing that you want to ask me that we haven't been able to kind of come across during our conversation.
I guess kind of like the one overarching theme that I kind of want to dial in a little bit, and that I've learned through just my experience in life in general is, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, is putting yourself into uncomfortable situations. This kind of bundles everything together, is that like, what is life if you're not like constantly wanting to develop and just get better at something and just learn something new. I think some people like myself, I'm taking it in the direction of music and creativity, but there's nothing stopping me from wanting to learn how to surf or wanting to learn how to fly plane or all this other stuff. I mean, that's the joy of life is putting yourself into these situations and then all of a sudden seeing that growth and development. I mean, as I mentioned before, like I look back on the music that I came out with 5 years ago and I laugh, but it's also reassuring to know that like I've developed far enough to get to this point.
Yeah.
And in a world where AI is starting to fill up all of this creative field, that just doesn't excite me as much. I mean, I feel like people can use that to their advantage, but it's something about taking the time and putting in the effort to learning something and getting inside getting uncomfortable and being bad at something right off the bat and really seeing the growth and progress of that. And once again, that comes with the development, but also with the social aspect as well. Some of my most important relationships have been through me sucking it up and just going up to that person. Breadman, one of my closest friends nowadays, I met him, as I mentioned, I forget if it was offline or online, but we had a mutual friend. Oh yeah, I did mention Jonko.
Damn, Jonko, number one, first place. I'm just kidding.
We had a mutual friend, and we met during our tour at UMass, and we were in line together for some marketing club later on in the semester. We had both committed to or applied to UMass, gotten in, and he was about, I don't know, 5 people behind in line with me, and I recognized him. I don't know if he initially recognized me at first, but I was like, oh, that's that kid. I didn't have many friends at the time. I was like, oh, like I should go up to him. But me being the person I am, I'm like, oh, like what if he doesn't remember me? Or like, I don't know, like all of this stuff is racing through my head. And all of a sudden I go up to him and I'd be like, hey, you're John Coe's friend, right? And we just got talking. And then, I mean, if it wasn't for me meeting him, I don't even know if I would be here sitting with you right now talking about my entire journey in the music industry. He's the one that got me into producing. Maybe I would have gotten into it at some point, but it's kind of like that butterfly effect. I wouldn't be where I am if he did not teach me, or if he did not expose me to music production. And similarly with DJing, I was in a weird roommate situation my junior year, and I ended up reaching out to friend Liam, who I had a couple classes with, never really interacted with much, but I noticed he had an open spot in his room or in his suite, and reached out to him asking if I could get in with him. He said, oh yeah, absolutely, sure. And him and all of his friends ended up becoming my best friends in college. I didn't really have much of a group back then. I really only had Brendan and another friend of mine, Owen. But I never really had a core group. And if it wasn't for that, I may have not have stayed at UMass. I was absolutely considering transferring because I wasn't enjoying myself. And I probably wouldn't have gotten into DJing either because he would not have exposed me to that point. So basically, all I'm saying is that if you see something or see someone who you think can change the trajectory of your life, and that can be something as small as just exposing you to an idea or some kind of activity, or it's as big as getting a promotion at work. Once again, I was very scared to ask my boss I used to work at a radio station. I was very scared to go into his office and ask for a promotion, but that got me into the radio experience that I had to leverage my podcasting thing that got me into Big Night that started this whole thing. So putting yourself into uncomfortable situations, it's going to be very, very scary to happen in the moment, but you never know what it's going to lend you later down the road.
No, I think those two examples, and just like, I mean, all we've been discussing the entire podcast, but like, we know it's scary to put ourselves in a very uncomfortable conversation because our brain really just wants to stick with familiarity. But you gotta remember, our brain also has this ability for neuroplasticity, so that we can be adaptable to a lot of things. So, maybe this is a time for David Goggins' mindset of feelings and just do it.
Right.
Like, this is a time where, like, okay, like, just do it and see what happens. Like, I totally resonate, because I know when gym, like, if I relate it to the gym, like, the gym can be a very intimidating environment for a lot of people, and I understand why.
Yep.
But if you kind of go to the gym at the same time, see the same people, and just go up to them and say, hey, like, I've seen you around, like, just want to introduce yourself, say hi, understand what your story is, because they could have knowledge that can help you get to whatever your fitness goal is. And I did that with someone at the gym, bro. Like, my anxiety, my, like, all of what if they think, I'm, trying to, hit on them or be a creep, but I'm not.
Right, yeah.
It's just more of like, hey, I want to build a gym community, and like, I just see that person a lot.
Yeah.
So much, where it's racing and all that stuff. But I did it, and like, at first I did it, and then, like, I was like, oh, like, I'm glad I did it. But then again, it's like, okay, what's the after effect of it too? It's like, is this relationship gonna continuously, like, keep going, or is it more of just like a, hey, like, I introduce myself, so now you know who I am, but like, we won't really see each other and all that stuff. But like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not gonna wonder what if,
Sure.
And
I'm sure now you've like, you start getting the reps in.
Yes,
it's gonna be
exactly.
scary at once, and then once you kind of have a baseline for what it feels like, now you know kind of how every other situation is going to feel like. You're putting yourself in a better development for making those connections that you first were scared to do.
Yeah. And those fears that we have initially before we get into something uncomfortable, it's all like, I don't want to call it fake fear, but it's not like the reality fear. If we go to, like you said, like a primal instinct, like, it's not like a tigers, but like right there, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
It's more about how either our ego or how we want people to perceive us, that really makes us afraid of doing certain things. So if you kind of realize, like, okay, like, what's the worst that can happen, right? That person could, if they have headphones in, you say hi, they don't say anything, it could be like, all right, then I'm just gonna, move, you know what I mean? Or like, in your case, if you don't go up to that, if you went up to someone and, what if Brendan was like, oh, hey dude, and just like, shied away, like, at least that, like, what the result is, versus like being like, what if I put myself in an uncomfortable situation? What could happen? What if? Like, life is full of what ifs, but that's something you actually can control. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up.
Of course.
Trying to think of anything else on that, because that's part of growing, is just being super uncomfortable, and then, but like that thing you were uncomfortable before now isn't uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, man. So let's get into song association. I think this is going to be really fun, especially since you are a DJ.
Oh, God. Yeah, fun for you, maybe. I have no idea what this is.
So song association, basically, we're only going to do one round each. So basically, I give you a word, and you tie it to a song title, song lyric, or recently my guests have been doing song meaning. So like, to give you a quick example, I gave them time, and they brought back the song of intentions, because you have to be intentional with your time. So you don't have to necessarily have the word time in the lyric or the title. It could just be like a meaning to you.
Okay. Yikes, I need to get in my phone. I'm worried, I'm nervous.
So the word that I have for you is world. I think world's a good one.
I mean, first song that comes to my mind is "Heal the World" by Michael Jackson. Yeah, I mean, that's just such an incredible song. It's kind of in the same "We Are the World" system, where it's like a big choir, just crazy instrumentation, and it follows that same message of helping each other out, supporting everybody, and kind of just all growing together and just being the lending hand for someone in need.
I you picked a great song, because I just feel like nowadays, like even on a micro level, like we need to do it a lot more often. But one step at a time.
Yep.
One step at a time. All right. So now it's time for you to give me a
what's
word.
that song? One step at a time. Jordan Sparks.
Yeah. Nice.
No, keep going back for that. Okay, so I give you a word now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Test my music knowledge. Jesus.
Oh, he'll be one. Summer.
Well, can I not use your name?
Don't use my music.
Okay. The song when you said summer, the first song that comes into mind is Summer by Calvin Harris.
Okay.
Yeah, like what's the lyric? When I met you in the summer. Yeah. Calvin Harris, I always thought about was always a good like kind of summery like song time always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But hopefully now when your song comes out, that'll remind me of summer. So
there you go. Yeah, good answer.
All right, man. So let's get. I actually do want to go into questions from the audience. So the question actually comes from both me and my partner.
Okay.
So she really loves Benson Boone.
Yep.
And are you familiar with his song "Greatest Fear"?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. But for me, I've really been getting into like EDM and like, listen to Knock 2 like on all my gym sessions because I'm like I can't stray away from him. Like I need something, so I'll go back to him.
That's valid.
But we were actually wondering if you think it's possible to make that song into an kind of an EDM mix, because we really think it's a great opportunity. I was gonna play it right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because there's a certain part where I feel like it's more of like
I know a lot of people use his the beautiful
things.
Beautiful things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of remixes from that.
Yeah. But I think this one it gives me more of a dabbing feel. Oh, it's this one. So there's the build up.
Oh.
Yeah. And then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I absolutely can see that.
So we were actually wondering, obviously it'd be a low priority, but if you could actually make that into a mix.
I could try.
Yeah.
Because
I'd be interested to see like your take on it. Because we've told friends that are like have just started DJing, like, oh, can you mix it? But I feel like it's a huge opportunity and like of how that song is, that it could be remixed like from an EDM standpoint.
Right.
The only person that I've heard do a Benson Boone song, I think it was Cheat Codes or someone that opened for Cheat Codes, but they did Ghost Town, which is a completely different song.
Okay.
But no one has done that one yet.
All right.
So I'm interested to see what your take on it would be.
Yeah, no, I absolutely can hear the like what could be done from that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew an amazing following so far, just coming out with these edits and mashups on SoundCloud over the past couple of years. So it's absolutely something that I'm definitely more comfortable with, and I've gotten to the point where I can start, getting them out like once a week.
Yeah.
I absolutely could try something like that.
Obviously low priority. You don't want to interrupt your already your schedule and stuff like that. But we would love to hear like that.
I'm on it right away.
And then tell people how they missed an opportunity.
High priority. Yeah. I'm on it as soon as we get out of here.
Let's go. All right, man. Yeah, let's get into the final 3 questions I have for you. I call these the big 3 questions. These are the questions that will leave the final message with our viewers. So the first question I have for you is, if you could sit down with a younger Peter, what words would you say to him? Would it be whether that's advice, maybe just sitting with him, or just having a conversation with your younger self? What would that kind of look like?
I think the most important thing is, no matter what you're doing, make sure you're having fun. I think it's very easy to get wrapped up in the stresses that come with just life in general, whether it be your job or your relationships or anything else, even just traffic, especially living in Boston. We can get that a lot.
Terrible.
So it's not going to be all the time, but I think finding the pockets that feed you joy. And for me, that's spending time with friends and being active and adventurous and making music. And I think you'll also be surprised to see and discover all these new things that also give you joy that you never even knew that you thought. I mean, my younger self probably didn't know I'd be working on music and enjoy it that much, but now I can tell them that I do. And maybe 5-10 years from now, I'll be figuring out other things that also feed me that same joy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no matter what's going on, I always still find the pockets to have some fun.
Nice. Love it. My second question for you is, what does becoming the highest version of yourself mean to you, and how are you doing that today?
I think it goes into what we were talking about a lot earlier throughout this episode, is just constantly finding ways to develop and just become become a better version of yourself, as sense in the title, a higher version of yourself, and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and just kind of living the life that you want to live. And I know Brendan mentioned it a lot in his episode as well, but understanding that you also don't necessarily need to make this thing that gives you this passion and inspiration your line of work. I think it's totally fine to keep this on the side, and if anything, maybe important to keep it on the side, because then it doesn't become work for you. It always will remain that thing that gives you joy and passion. And I think just figuring out kind of how you can be, I don't know how to answer this question without just saying figure out how to be the best version of yourself, but I think just constantly learning and trying whatever you can to build your relationships with others.
Beautiful. My last question to you is, if you could connect me with someone that you think would be great to be on this podcast, who would it be and why?
Okay, so I actually do have a really good person for you. It's a guy that I used to work for at Big Night. He used to be a videographer for Big Night. He did nightlife recaps for all the clubs and restaurants, and is now decided to leave his corporate job and go freelance. And now he's on tour with this artist, Noah Richardson. And it's just really inspiring what he's doing, because no matter what's going on in his life, he is probably the most positive person I've ever met. He is filled with enthusiasm and excitement and interest to new ideas and trying out new things. And his name is Josh Allard, and he goes by the happiest face on Instagram. So he truly does live by what he preaches in his brand, and that he in person is incredibly hardworking, and he has this vision for himself and where he wants to bring things, and he is doing everything that he can to accomplish that.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, again, thank you again for your time and all the knowledge you just spewed. I mean, it's an inspiring story, and we can't wait for you to continue growing and obviously being on the come up. Hopefully we'll see you at, EDC in the future or any other festival.
Yeah.
If that is your goal,
Yep.
whatever your goals are, we would love to see that come to real life.
Once again, I really appreciate you having me on. I love what you're building here. I think it's a really important thing that, if people may already know the stuff that we're talking about, but I think it's also important for them to constantly be reminded of the stuff that's the most important in life. So I think you having this platform to be able to kind of repurpose all of these big notes that are so crucial to living life and being the highest version of yourself is incredibly important. So thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for saying that. Is there anything that you actually do you want to plug your social medias, talk about your new song, maybe any new events that will probably be in that June timeframe?
So on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, SoundCloud, Pete Summers Music, Summers spelled the regular way. I guess we didn't really get into it, but I went through a name rebrand. My name used to be HRLY, which is my last name without the vowels. But the issue with that was that people didn't know what the missing vowels were. So I was getting Harley a lot
Oh.
or hourly. So that kind of prompted the name change to a name that hopefully no one could ever mispronounce.
Misinterpret.
Yeah. I mean, you see the word Pete and Summers.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how you could potentially get that wrong. So yeah, Pete Summers on all social media platforms. I have a song called By My Side coming out June 13th. I'm so stoked about that. It's going to be my first song in like 8 months, I think. Last song was in October, called In My Life. And then hopefully, yeah, having a bunch more planned out throughout the summer and onto the future. Yeah, so and then for shows, I have a show at this club called Basement, a new club that opened up underneath the W Hotel. It's a really cool underground spot. I'm opening up for this DJ Daniel Allen on June 13th, and then the following week, I'm opening up for Sam Felt, who's an absolute legend in the like the kind of tropical house music industry at the Grand on June 20th.
Okay, awesome. I'll put all the details down in the description below. But yeah, guys, if any part of this episode resonated with you, please clip it, tag me, tag Peter in it. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe. And as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Love y'all.